I just want to talk about the show because from my layman's perspective about Hamilton and the limited amount of Broadway I've seen in my life, it seemed to be like an innovative turn theater upside down. And from you being in, that's your professional practice and where you live and breathe, what for you makes Hamilton this phenomenon that's just, people are blown away? It doesn't matter who you are.
I think what's really special about Hamilton is that they didn't do anything just because it's how it's been done. They took time to cultivate and create from that singular point of inspiration and just build and build around the show, serving the purpose of the show. And they used theatrical devices that had been done and they made them really exciting. They have the double turntable in the show. Turntables are such a great theatrical device, but having the second one adds a whole other element. These are all things that have been done, but they just really took the time to make it about the worth of the material. It's a rich show, and the show thematically is about when the right words are said at the right time to the right people. It's the message gets out and change happens. And I think there's an aspect of that in how the show is built. The choreography alone, I tell people, as a dancer in the show, we are doing a physical monologue for 2.5, 3 hours. Every word that you hear Hamilton and Burr and Jefferson and these other performers say, and the sisters, the ensemble is actually communicating that through our bodies. Mm-hmm. Which, to speak personally towards the phenomenon of Hamilton and how it resonates with me, there's a handful of different reasons that dance is used in musical theater. It can be for entertainment's sake, dance for dance's sake, and it can be for storytelling's sake. And integration of dancing into the art form is really what thrills me. And a show like this, the dancers, we must endeavor on such a high intellectual level to perform the choreography on the level that it's due. Yeah. That it returns such a great experience to the performers or to the dancers, and that makes it that much more special for me.
Just trying to project what it must be like as a performer. You have this complicated dialogue in songs. It's in rap. It's all rhyme. How you land on each word is very important because the audience is just in this sensory overload of keeping up with the dialogue. But then the dancing is so physical. And to your point, with the turntable, that blew my mind. That was like something that I hadn't seen before. But it didn't seem to be this gimmicky sort of device. And my only regret was my seats weren't more center stage.
Sure.
So I could really see the symmetry on each side that was happening. I was lucky to be down pretty close to the front, but I was kind of had a slightly obstructed view from the floor. But what is it about the dialogue as well? I mean, there's been other plays and performances that had, what I would term modern contemporary language. Like if Shakespeare's old language, this is the contemporary language of today. The challenges of just learning, reciting, and then performing and embodying something like that.
It's certainly a challenge. I think first to speak to, it's just so resonant as in like terms of the words and the rap and all of that. I mean, Lin is sort of like a cultural leader. He's like a pop leader, and so it's cool. It's wonderful that if he puts it to rhythm or he puts it down on paper, the words are going to have that relevance that people are going to hear and listen to, and which is great, and it makes the material rich. But then there's the aspect of learning it, and as the ensemble, I first stepped into the show a little over a year ago in the New York company, and day one of the experiences, you get to go to the theater and they give you a ticket and you sit down and you watch the show, and it's great, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm at Hamilton, and like it's a good seat,
and you're like, by the way, I also work here.
Yeah. By the way, I'm going to be joining the show, so like don't freak out, but before we went out and sat down, the resident choreographer in that company says, it's going to really behoove you if you know all the words before we start rehearsal tomorrow. And I thought, oh, well, yeah, that, like, come in with my lyrics ready so I can dance and learn choreography to my lyrics. That's what I always do, that's the professional sort of mentality. And she said, no, I mean all the words. Because, there's a handful of different ways that dance is communicated. There's a boom, chicka-laka, haka, puka, puka, whatever, your rhythms and your saying syllables that are just, however the rhythms feel in your body, or you could go by the counts, 1 and a 2, or...
Yeah.
And then you might have to go by the words. Say, yo, I'm just like my country, young, scrappy. And it's actually, the words are the most consistent measure of any sort of rhythm or time or anything throughout the show. And so they end up being
The cadence.
And it's so important to learn that. So that was a huge learning curve for me, because I'd step in rehearsal and they say, okay, well, this is on this word and this is on this syllable. It's like, I don't know where that is. I don't know what the phrase even is that we're talking about.
Yeah.
But as the process goes, and Hamilton, learning Hamilton is certainly a layer by layer by layer piece. It does help so much, because then it allows for the availability to perform the artistic duet or partnership with the other art forms, right? Where Hamilton, or the actor that's playing Hamilton, is going to have idiosyncrasies about their timing, that it's going to be live, it's going to be, in the moment, and the availability to hear it and know what the rhythm, what the words are, allows the dance to line up that much more crisply with the words, which delivers the message even tighter. So, it's interesting. I've had the opportunity to teach a bunch while I've been here too, and something I keep noticing is there's this. I'm going to use the example of dancing. In the studio, we're dancing to the music, and then there's this version, we hear the music in our head, and we know what it's going to sound like. Even if we're not familiar with the song, we've now heard it once, we've done the combination once, and we start dancing to what we expect to be there. And so I've started this conversation of saying, hey, how can we actively listen and intend to partner with what we are experiencing as opposed to what we are expecting?
This Full Exposure podcast episode has been made possible through the support of Metro Health, University of Michigan Health, and Dr. Peter Hahn, who believe that creativity and the arts are essential to a rich, healthy, and fulfilling life.